Hello and welcome. Only 3 American pilots have shot down enemy aircraft from each of the Axis powers. That is, shot down a German, Italian and Japanese aircraft. For one pilot to have served in all theatres of the Second World War was unusual. The first to do this was Major Albert Baumler. His story is so unusual that it deserves a separate video. Albert John Ajax Baumler was born in 1914 in New Jersey and had an ordinary childhood. He enlisted in the US Army at Fort Monmouth, New Jersey, September 1933, training as a radio operator. In June of 1935, he was accepted for transfer to the Air Corps as an aviation cadet and assigned to Randolph Field in Texas. He completed his basic and primary flight training at Randolph and progressed to advanced flight training at nearby Kelly Field. 2 weeks before graduation, he took off in a twin-engine trainer that had a near-empty fuel tank. He was able to make an emergency dead-stick landing with minimal damage to the aircraft, but was washed out of the program for failure to demonstrate proper flying proficiency. He secured a position as a pilot trainee for United Airlines, earning his commercial transport rating. With the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War, Baumler sailed to Spain aboard the Queen Mary to offer his services to the Republican side. Another passenger on the ship was Inigo de Cisneros, chief of the Spanish Air Force, through whom Baumler was able to secure a contract to fly for Loyalist Spain, the terms of which called for compensation of $1,500 a month plus $1,000 for each aircraft shot down. That made him a mercenary. Arriving in Spain in December 1936, he passed his flight check, completed refresher training and was accepted for service in the Spanish Air Force to fly against the nationalists. He was assigned to the Escuadrilla Kozakov under Russian command, flying the Polikarpov Chateau. On March 16, he was credited with his first victory over an Italian Fiat CR-32 fighter as a share with another pilot. They weren't paid for shared victories. His first individual kill included a Fiat CR-32, a German Heinkel 51 fighter and another as a probable. In May 1937, Baumler was assigned to the 1st Escuadrilla de Moscas unit, again under Russian command, flying the faster Polikarpov Moscow. On June the 2nd, he claimed a CR-32 and then another on June 14. On July 8, he shot down his last CR-32. He flew his last mission on July 15, being credited with the shooting down of 4 enemy planes individually and a 5th as a share victory. He departed Spain in August 37 aboard a Canadian Pacific steamship bound for Canada, since he had violated the State Department ban on travel to Spain. He enrolled at New York University and attended for 1 year, but returned to the Army Air Corps to Kelly Field as a second lieutenant. He put his combat experience to practical use at the Advanced Flying Trainer School at Craig Field, Alabama. In the summer of '41, while on temporary duty at Elgin, Florida, he was targeted for recruitment to the 1st American Volunteer Group, part of the Chinese Air Force. The AVG, nicknamed the Flying Tigers, was formed to help oppose the Japanese invasion of China and was led by the legendary Claire Chennault. When he learned that recruiter Skipper Dare had turned up at Maxfield Field looking for him, Baumler commandeered a P-35 and flew directly to Washington, returning with a signed contract with the Central Aircraft Manufacturing Company, the company through which the US and Chinese governments would administer the AVG. Baumler resigned his commission in anticipation of deployment to China, but he was refused a passport by the State Department based on his previous violation of travel restriction to Spain. He returned to the Army Air Force and was assigned to the American military mission in China with the expectation that he would serve as a liaison to the AVG which was in need of experienced staff officers. He departed on December 3 on Pan Am Philippine Clipper flying boat in charge of a cargo of 200 tyres and spare parts for the AVG fighter planes. The Clipper made it as far west as Wake Island, where it was moored on the morning of December 8 when the Japanese attacked the installation. Remember, December 7 was when Japan attacked Pearl Harbor. After the first wave of the attack, during which the Clipper was strafed, his cargo was dumped to make room for evacuees with whom Baumler flew back to Hawaii. Upon arrival in Honolulu, Baumler was pressed into duty with the 45th Pursuit Squadron of the 15th Pursuit Group, based at Wheeler Field, flying combat patrols, guarding against further attacks or a possible invasion, serving in this capacity until February 1942, when he was recalled to Washington, D.C. Resuming his previous assignment to China, he took the transatlantic route via Rio de Janeiro to British West Africa. From Takaroda on the Gold Coast, he led a flight of 8 P-40s Kitty Hawks earmarked for the AVG on the ferry route across Africa and India, arriving in China on April 20. In combat with the AVG, Baumler was credited by the Air Force with 2 aerial victories on June 3 and 22nd, thus becoming the first American pilot credited with destroying aircraft of all 3 Axis powers. On July 30, along with John Ellison, and without the benefit of radar, Baumler flew the first night interception mission and was credited with shooting down 3 planes. Baumler was made commanding officer of the 74th Fighter Squadron until February 1943. Baumler test flew captured Japanese Mitsubishi A6M aircraft, which the Chinese had captured. Baumler was sent back to the US with the diagnosis of malignant malaria. It was equally likely that this was precipitated by a drinking problem, resulting in his crashing a plane into a row of parked fighters. Upon his return to the United States, he participated in a national tour of speaking engagements at war bond rallies, culminating in him meeting President Roosevelt. Baumler was assigned to the Test Fly Division of the Air Materiel Command at Wright Field in Ohio, where he flew the latest model Lockheed, Republic and North American fighters and helped perfect the high-velocity aircraft rocket as a wing-mounted weapon. This expertise resulted in his recruitment by his former squadron mate John Ellison as one of the initial cadre of pilots for Project 9, the first Air Commando group supporting the British Chendet Special Forces infiltration of Japanese rear supply areas in Burma. His drinking problems surfaced once again and resulted in his removal. The end of the war resulted in the rapid demobilisation of the Air Force, and Baumler, lacking a college degree and with a history of drinking problems and former association with the Soviets, was turned down for a regular commission and accepted a permanent rank of Master Sergeant in order to remain in the service. His final duty station was Parrott Air Force Base in Texas, from which he left the Air Force in September 1965, being placed on the retired list at his reserve rank of Major based on his combat decorations. During his 30-plus years of military service, Baumler was awarded many medals. In retirement, Baumler and his wife Irma settled in Denison. He died on August 2, 1973 at hospital in Waco, Texas. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe to promote content.